everyone. Our next lesson is reviewing operations with polynomials. So we're going to need to know how to simplify. We talked about our exponent laws, which we're also going to need to use when we are simplifying our polynomials. So example number 1, we're going to expand and simplify. We have to know or recognize the difference between an expression like this and an expression like this. In part A, those brackets are separated by a plus, so we are simply adding those together. In a case like D, there are no signs in between the brackets, which always means multiplying. So if we don't have anything between our terms, that means multiplying, whether it's brackets or whether it's just a single expression. So in the first case, that plus in the middle doesn't change anything. We can just take those terms out of the brackets and simplify. Notice that we can only add or subtract like terms, which means they have exactly the same variable with exactly the same exponent. Otherwise, they're not like things and we can't add or subtract. Like we talked about last lesson, we can multiply or divide, but we can't add or subtract. So first of all, looking at our x's, if we have 2 x's and we have another 4 x's, we have 6 x's altogether. And we have 3 subtract 7, which means we need to just subtract 4. And that's our final answer. There's nothing more we can simplify unless we find out what the value of x is. For part B, notice that we have a subtract in between here, which means that everything in that second bracket has to be subtracted. So we're going to have subtract 4x. Watch, we have a double subtract. Remember, if we have a double sign, subtracting a negative means that it turns into a plus. So we basically just change the signs of everything in the second bracket if we are subtracting it. So 2x minus 4x means we have negative 2x. 3 plus 7 means we have plus 10. Okay? For part C, now we have something in front of our brackets. Remember, we called this the distributive property because whatever is in front of the brackets, we have to distribute into the brackets. Now we also have to watch that we have our minus in front of the second set. So first set, 2x times x gives us 2x squared. We add our exponents. Minus 2x times 3 means that we have minus 6x. And our second set of brackets, we're going to subtract each of our terms. So we're going to have minus 4x and minus 4. Again, notice that those signs changed for each term in the brackets. Simplifying, like terms only, so we only have 2x squared, negative 6x minus 4x gives us negative 10x, and we only had a minus 4, so it stays exactly it is. There are no other like terms. For part D, we're still going to use distributive property, but now we have 2 terms times 2 terms. So we're going to take our 5y times everything in the second set of brackets. So 5y times 2y gives us 10y squared. 5y times 3 gives us 15y. And they're all positive values, no sign changes whatsoever. But now we're going to take our negative 2 times everything in the second set of brackets. So because of this minus here, we're going to have minus 4y and minus 6. Just like we did over here, the minus in front changes the signs of what we're multiplying. Again, simplifying, we have 10y squared. 15y minus 4y gives us plus 11y, and we still have our minus 6 at the end. And that's our final answer there. Now, remember, this is also what we call FOIL. So we can think about it as our first terms in each bracket multiplied together, which is our F, our outside terms multiplied together, which is our O, our outside terms, our inside terms, and our last terms in each set of brackets. So first, outside, inside, and last. Okay, if we want to remember those steps in that order as well. And remember that our outside and our inside terms are our like y terms, so we can combine them while we're doing this if we want to go straight to this answer here, which is going to save you a little bit of time down the road once we get to more complicated questions. For part E, remember when we talked about our exponent laws, that squared outside means we have two sets of these brackets, which turns into a FOIL question. A lot of times we're tempted to just put the 2 on each of the things inside, but we have two sets of brackets. So now we're going to use FOIL. First, 3x times 3x gives us 9x squared. Outside, and because of the minus 2, we're going to have minus 6x. Inside, again, minus 6x. And negative 2 times negative 2 gives us a positive 4 at the end. Combining our inside or our like x terms, we have minus 12x. So our final answer here is 9x squared minus 12x plus 4. Again, we can go straight to here to simplify. Now, part F, we're still going to follow the distributive property. It's just that now we have to multiply that second set of brackets by 3 different terms. So we're going to have our m squared times m gives us m cubed minus 4m squared. Now we're going to take a look at our negative 3m times everything in the second bracket. So we're going to get minus 3m squared, and negative 3m times negative 4 means we're going to have plus 12m. Now we're going to take our last term of 2 in the first bracket times both items in our second bracket, which gives us plus 2m subtract 8. Now again, we're going to look for like terms. So m cubed is the only cubed term. And if we want to, we can put a light cross through that. We know we have it in our final answer. Now we're going to look at our squared terms. So we've got negative 4m squared minus 3m squared. Those are the only m squared terms. So minus 7m squared. Then we have our to the power of 1, or our m terms. And when we combine those, we have plus 14m. And the minus 8 at the end, that was the only numeric term, so it stays a minus 8. Now, for part G, we're going to have to apply a bunch of these things. When we multiply our first 2 sets of brackets here, we're going to leave our 3 out front, and we're going to simplify our brackets to start with. So if we think about and notice that we have the same sets of brackets with 1 of each sign. Remember from last year that that means that our middle a terms are going to cancel out. So when we do this, 2a times 2a gives us 4a squared. We have plus 8a minus 8a and subtract 16. Now we have our plus in between, so they are not multiplied together. This up here is never multiplied by this because they're separated by a plus. Well, again, we notice we have a plus 5, which means we have two sets of brackets here. So we're going to have to multiply that out as well. Now again, the last part is separated by a minus, and we're going to use FOIL again. Notice though, right now we're going to leave this in brackets because we're going to worry about multiplying our brackets together first without trying to figure out that minus. So we're going to have a times a is a squared minus 3a minus 5a, and our negative 5 times negative 3 means we're going to have plus 15. Well, now we're going to multiply this first set here by 3. So 12a squared, notice that our a terms cancel, and we're just going to have minus 48. Now we're going to multiply out our a squared, and notice that if we go straight to combining our middle terms, we can put in there 10a and plus 25, and we can take out our last set of terms by applying the minus. So if everything is minused inside, we're going to get negative 8a with the minus out front becomes positive 8a and minus 15. Now we need to get rid of our last set of brackets here before we can state our final answer. So we're going to multiply everything in there by 2. And now we can take a look at simplifying our like terms. So all we have left now is adding and subtracting. Remember, Bedmas tells us we do all of our multiplying, dividing, exponents, all of that stuff before we do our adding and subtracting. So taking a look at our squared, we have 12a plus 2a squared is 14a squared minus 1a squared means we have 13a squared. Looking at our a terms, 20a plus 8a means we have 28a. And our numeric terms, negative 48 plus 50 is 2 minus 15 gives us minus 13. Okay, so again, simplifying our polynomials. You have some questions on your worksheet to practice and refamiliarize yourself with these processes. Okay, and as always, if you have any questions, please let me know. If you're here, you can ask me directly. If you're at home, you can email me. And just make sure that we're asking those questions to clarify. Okay, take care, and we'll talk again soon.